back to the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. And on this show, we're going to talk about the matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Chicago Bears. This should be a very interesting game. Steelers coming in at 6-4. Chicago Bears coming in at 7-3. In first place in the NFC North. The Steelers are in first place in the AFC North. Um, the Bears, hey, at the end of the day, you have to play what's on your schedule. The Bears are 7-3. To date, their best win is against the Dallas Cowboys, which I think they're 4-5-1. Everybody else that the Bears have beat, they're under 500. So to keep it 100, they played a soft schedule, but at the end of the day, you have to, you only can play who's on your schedule, and any given Sunday, getting a victory in the NFL is not easy. So, with that said, I give those guys credit. They're only doing what they supposed to do. A very young team, especially on the offensive side. They have some weapons. I think they have a great young up and coming coach as far as Ben Johnson, a great offensive mind. Just to me, I'm assuming he's doing everything the right way as far as getting these guys motivated to play. I know at the beginning of the year and through training camp and the preseason, he was really upset with the offense because they just wasn't, they wasn't getting the offense down. But it seems like they're kind of worked through that stuff now. And to me, and I go at it with a lot of Steeler fans. I just believe the way football is set up now, and it's so offensive dominated with the rules. You can't touch the quarterbacks, and even with the receivers, at the 5 yards, you can't touch them. And the way these receivers are now. So to me, the game is set up to be an offensive game. Obviously you have to get that quarterback, which I think the Bears probably is finally, at least in their franchise, finally have. I think they have a young, good quarterback. And like I say, you putting them with a good offensive mind coach, and you see the results. And I just believe that's the way you have to go right now. I mean, hey, you can't, and that's like one of the problems I have with the Steelers. We're putting so much money into this defense. Now, granted, you do have to have a decent defense. You can't really be kind of how the Cincinnati Bengals are and just have a high-powered offense and the defense can't stop anybody. I mean, so you have to kind of have a balance, but I think the scales of that balance need to probably tilt a little bit more to your offense because that's just the way the league is. I mean, now 10 years from now, maybe they'll swing it back to defense, but right now, it's about the offense. It's about having a quarterback, and it's about with these new young offensive coordinators now. I mean, they're coming up with all kinds of different type schemes and different things, and I think that's just what you need to really have now. But with that said, we'll go straight to these matchups, and let's get to it here. Let's see. Here we go. So, week 12 matchups. Again, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-4. Chicago Bears 7-3. This game be played in Soldier Field. From the last report I heard, it's not going to be snowing and all that stuff. So that's a good thing. Pittsburgh Steelers don't play good in Chicago. They don't play good there. And this is just actually, I won't even get into that. I'll wait until a little later to talk about that. But right now, let's get into the matchups. So, quarterbacks. You got Caleb Williams, up and coming um quarterback. Has a kind of, and don't get me wrong when I say this, but he's probably the closest as far as different angles he can throw at and all that. He kind of remind you of Mahomes a little bit. Now he doesn't have Mahomes' arm strength. He don't have that. But just with the sidearm throws and different angle he can throw is it just kind of remind me of Mahomes. Now to me he's a little weird. He's a little weird. It seems like he's a little let's say cranky sometimes. I just leave it at that. But he seems to be finally grasping onto this offense. I know he has like 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, so he's kind of protecting the ball. That was one of his issues, just making some bad decisions. And you would get that with a young quarterback, so you really can't kill him on that. He's mobile. He's a guy that will move. I mean, now he won't. He want to throw the ball. He want to stay in the pocket and throw the ball, but he has the ability to scramble if it's a 3rd and 5 and they defense take their eye off of him. He can take off on you. As far as the Steelers, there's no official word. If it's going to be Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph, me personally, I believe it's going to be Aaron Rodgers because, I feel like this. This is Aaron Rodgers' last go around. More than likely, he's going to retire. At first, I was kind of thinking, well, if stuff, and it's still a possibility, but stuff goes right in Pittsburgh, maybe he'll come back for another year. But we'll see how that works out. So more than likely, this is it for Aaron Rodgers. So these games are crucial to him. And I just don't see him missing any games if it's any possibility that he can play. But like I say, the decisions haven't been made. I know that they're going to really see if he can protect himself and make sure he can perform. I know he had a light practice today, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm expecting Aaron Rodgers to play. I'm really am. Like I say, I think these games with his career winding down, I think these games mean a lot to him, and he's not going to miss any game if he feel like he can get out there and play. But with that said, I'm gonna get a quarterback edge to the Bears. I mean, I like Caleb Williams. Again, I think he's in a perfect situation. He has an offensive minded coach that comes up with a lot of different schemes and a lot of different type plays. I mean, you seen what Ben Johnson did in Detroit. He's brought that over to Chicago, and I just think this kid is just gonna get better. I think he's just gonna get better, and he's gonna be a very good quarterback, I believe. I think when it's all said and done, I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. All right, let's go into the running backs. The running back is DeAndre Swift, and again, guy kind of bounced around a little bit. His biggest issue to me has just been staying healthy. It seemed like he has a lot of injury problems, but when he's healthy, he's one of the best, like a dual back. I mean, he runs the ball, catches the ball out the backfield. He has good speed. Um, you know, like I say, the Bears actually spent a lot of money improve that offensive line, and he's running good behind them. I think he's averaging like 4.7 yards a carry. That's something the Bears are really trying to do. They're trying to establish the run and work off the run. Like I said, if you remember Detroit's offense, that was a high power offense, but Detroit ran the ball. And that's one of the things that a lot of people have just don't really think about with all these new offensive coordinators. If you look at all these offensive, I'll call them geeks. They run the ball. These guys are not just. This ain't just like these guys are not doing just like run and shoot and just throwing. I mean, now they will do that if they need to, but these guys are running the ball. Even me personally, and I don't know. It seemed like he might be trying to save his job now, but McDaniel's down in Miami. I would love, and I repeat, I would if he gets fired. I would love for the Pittsburgh Steelers to bring him in as the offensive coordinator. Like some guys are not head coaches. Some guys are not head coaches, and I think he might be one of those guys that maybe he's just not a head coach, but I think he's a great offensive coordinator. He's a great offensive mind, but he runs the ball. If you watch Miami, they run the ball. Then their passing game it works off that run game, but they run the ball. But anyway, with the Steelers, I mean, you got Warren. I don't know what his status is going to be. I'm assuming he's going to play. I know he's a little nicked up with his ankle or foot. You got Gainwell. He had a huge game out the backfield, but I'm going to give a running game to the Chicago Bears. So I'm taking the Bears. DeAndre Swift. Wide receivers, same old story, and it's going to be the same old story for the rest of this year. The Steelers is DK Metcalf. That's what it is. I truly believe with Aaron Rodgers, he has kind of lost faith in Calvin Austin. I think Wilson. Yeah, Wilson has shown, he'll make some plays here and there, but I don't really think Rodgers trust them all like that. I to me, I think it's coaching malpractice, front office malpractice that the Pittsburgh Steelers did not get another receiver, either in the draft, free agency. I don't know. I just don't understand the way this league is set up now is and not get another receiver. That's just is mind boggling to me, but I don't understand it. But anyway, with Chicago, you got Ozozier, DJ Moore. Again, the Bears will run the ball and try to do a lot of play action and get those. They will push the ball down the field. Like I say, in Chicago, it just depends on how that weather is or how windy it is. But right now, the Steelers it's a one-man crew. It's a one-man crew. All these defenses are doing the same thing at this point. They're finding ways to take Metcalf out the game. They're doubling them, and they're taking their chances with the tight ends. And like I say, with the Steelers, we don't have and not so much of his talent, but just a guy like Kyle Pitts. Or he's a tight end, but he's a guy that can take it 80 yards. I mean, Kelsey is probably slowing down a little bit, but a Kelsey, one of those athletic type tight ends, we don't really have that. I mean, Freiermuth, he's a he's a more than above average tight end, but he's not. They're not explosive. Yeah, do they get open? Yeah, they get open. But these are guys that the defense would rather. The defense would rather for those guys to catch the ball than a DK Metcalf, where Metcalf could catch a short slant and take a 6-yard pass for 80 yards. Ain't none of the Steelers tight ends doing that. Yeah, can they get a chunk play here and there? Yes, they can. But the defense rather for those guys to beat them than to let a fast receiver beat them. Calvin Austin has speed, but like I say, I just think at this point, a couple of drops he had, and you know how these veteran quarterbacks get. They lose confidence in you real quick. So with the receiver room, I'm going Chicago Bears again. Tight ends. Again, the Bears have a very solid tight end room, but I think the Steelers with the I would say that the three-headed monster, but I don't know now because Smith is really struggling. He's really out there struggling. I don't know what's going on with him, but Washington is really turning into a weapon. Like to me, I would think in my idea of the Steelers offense with these three tight ends was that I thought in the red zone, this was the perfect thing. I thought in the red zone, I mean, the Steelers would darn near be unstoppable because now you got these big targets, big guys, and so that's where I really thought that this three tight end set would really benefit the Steelers. But anyway, with that said, I'm going Steelers with the tight ends. Offensive line, had to really do some studying here on this. Chicago has put a lot of money into their offensive line, and those guys are starting to produce. Those guys are starting to produce. They run the ball very well. The Steelers, their offensive line has improved, but I still think it's one of those things that when you really watch the film and break the Steelers' offensive line down, it's still a lot of misassignments. It's still a lot of guys getting pushed around. Broderick Jones is terrible. I'm still trying. I'm still doing my best to not use that B word on him yet, but it's at the tip of my tongue. It's at the tip of my tongue, and I just don't know what's going on with him, and I'm just trying not to call him that. I'm trying not to call him that, and I want to say I might have called him that before, but I'm holding back, and I'm trying to keep the faith with him, but it doesn't look good. So the offensive line, I'm taking the Chicago Bears. So when you look at this thing from an offense standpoint, the Bears offense is just flat out better than the Steelers. I think with Ben Johnson calling the plays. So I mean, he's basically he's the head coach, but he's the offensive coordinator. I think he's much better than Arthur Smith, and he runs an offense that got imagination, where the Steelers' offense doesn't have no imagination, and this is where this game could really turn right here because the Bears' offense is really going to challenge the Pittsburgh Steelers' defense. And this is where this game is going to be won or lost right there. Let's go over to the defense. The defense is kind of the opposite. So the defensive ends or edges, would I'm not really sure what Highsmith what's his deal going to be, but I've always thought that Herbert, he needs to be out there anyway. Highsmith, I'm almost banking that this is going to be his last year as a Pittsburgh Steeler. I think going into the off season, maybe draft night or right before the draft, he's going to be a trade victim. Can't stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. I mean, and that's the thing. That's a sad thing because he'll have a good game, and it gets you all excited. And the next thing you know, he's hurt. So hey, I remember the old saying, the best ability is availability, and right now he's not really showing that. So from the defensive edge in position, the edge, I'm giving that to the Steelers. Steelers have Sweat. That's probably their top. Excuse me, the Bears. That's probably their top defensive end. But the Steelers are definitely better at that position, even at the defensive tackles. Then this is gonna be this gonna be a test for these guys because this is gonna be about stopping the run. Because if they can't stop the run, they're gonna make this a long day for them. Because now the play action is gonna be in effect, and that's where they gonna let the Bears get their passing game going. On the other side, to be honest, Chicago's defense is terrible, and this is probably their Achilles heel that's going to hurt them down the line because when they're playing teams like Detroit and all that, they're gonna get into these shootouts, and their defense is not going. I don't think their defense is going to hold up. So I'm giving the Steelers the advantage there. The linebackers, they do have Tremaine Edmonds, which great at pass, covering tight ends. He's probably, I'm guessing he's gonna have Darnell Washington. He's definitely gonna be on him because you got to put a big body on him. I mean, you can't really put a safety on him, or definitely can't put a corner on him. So it's gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be very interesting. So he's saying that the Bears defense creates a lot of turnovers. Okay. All right. I can go with that. They do because I know Evans have like 4 picks, either 4 or 5 picks. So they do make a lot of turnovers, and that's one of the things that's probably why they're 7-3, because their defense have been able to turn people over a lot, but they're still kind of working on that side of the ball. Like I say, I think they got their offense. I think they got their offense together. They just gotta, keep gelling, and I think they got the pieces for their offense, but they're still working on that defense. The linebackers, again, I'm gonna give the Steelers the edge on that just before. I think Patrick Queen is, he's up and down. He's up and down. But I think Peyton Wilson has stepped his game up, especially when the Steelers kind of go to that 4-3. That's when he's really more effective. And I would almost think that that's something that the Steelers will have to look at next year. Or maybe, it might be time to just be a 4-3 team. And me, to be honest, that's what Mike Tomlin grew up being. Mike Tomlin is not a 3-4 guy. When he was with Tony Dungy, that's a 4-3 cover 2 base. That's what that defense is, and that's what he came up with. But when he got here, LeBeau they basically, I ain't gonna say made him, but he kept LeBeau as defensive coordinator, and that's what LeBeau ran, and that's just with the Steelers. I mean, even before LeBeau got here, I think it was Capers. I mean, the Steelers just been a 3-4 team, but sometimes you got to change up, and I think right now when you really look at the Steelers personnel, their personnel is really leaning more towards a 4-3, and when they run that 4-3, it definitely does wonders for Wilson. So with that, I'm gonna get the linebackers to the Steelers. The corners, um, I think right now, now I do not agree with from what I've been hearing is Slay is probably gonna start, and this is a situation where I think Mike Tomlin, this is where he gets that um the players love him and they like him and all that, because to me, Slay should not be starting. He's cooked. I mean, if you just if anybody out there, you can get anybody that don't even know anything about football. Just I don't know, your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter, your grandma, your mother, whoever. You can grab a person that don't know anything about football, and you can explain to them and say, "Hey, this guy right here, his main job is is to not let this guy that's lined up in front of him catch the ball." That's basically what his. I mean, he's responsible for some other things, but in a nutshell, that is his job. And if you let that person watch that any film that he ain't played in this year, they're going to tell you that guy can't play. And I wish Slade would have just said, "Hey, you know what? At this point, put Pierre out there, but I'm willing to help any other way I can help. Definitely, I can come off the bench. I'm helping these guys in practice. Be that leader, be that veteran presence, because right now he don't need to be on the field because he's terrible. He's done. He's cooked. It's over. You had a nice career, made a lot of money, and made it to a couple of Pro Bowls. You won a Super Bowl last year. You blessed, but man, it's over. It's over. This is Pat P all over again. And I think he's worse than Pat P, because at least at the minimum, Pat P stayed healthy. Every time Slay tackles somebody or anything, he's laying on the field. He's done. He is done. And for Tomlin to put the talking about putting him back out there, that's that. He's a veteran, and to me, what they're doing is they're probably hoping and praying that Caleb Williams air mails one and stick it right in his chest, and he gets a freaking interception. Then they can at least let Mr. Rooney know that, hey, see, he's producing, and instead of telling them, you know what, we just jacked off 10 million of your dollars because this dude is cooked. But anyway, with that said, um, I think with Pierre and Eccles and Porter, which I have to actually give him credit because I've been hard on Porter. He played a decent game against the Bengals. Now he needs to keep working on that and don't get back to the grabbing and holding and clutching and all that mess. But I'm giving that to the Steelers also. The safeties, with Ramsey, Duggins, you know, I think our safeties are much better, and just overall, I mean, the Steelers defense is just better than the Bears. And this is going to be a key to this game. So when you kind of look at it, it's going to be two strengths against each other. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense against the Chicago Bears offense. Those are their two strongest parts of their team. But then it also is going to be key of having the two weaker parts of your team and see which one of those can win that battle. But with that said, I'm going with the Steelers. With better safety play. Like I say, the Steelers defense is just better than the Bears, and that's going to be important. That's going to be important in this game, because I just think the Steelers offense to me is not up to par to me. It's just not. It seemed like as the season is going on, they're really losing steam, and they're struggling right now. Special teams. You know, how can you not pick the Pittsburgh Steelers there? Boz is a machine. Now the only thing, just Chicago, it's the Windy City, so we got to see how that wind is whipping around that stadium, because I mean Boz is a major part of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. I mean, and that's crazy, but he's a major part of their offense, and it may be hard hitting those zone kicks, if it's real windy out there. I think the punters, the Steelers punter is better. Kick return, I don't know. I haven't heard nothing about Williams, if he's still in the concussion protocol. I'm guessing he probably still is. So Calvin Austin's is probably going to handle the punts. But with that said, I'm giving special teams to the Steelers. Then we go into coaching. The Bears, like I said, the Bears defense is terrible. Well, I won't even say it's terrible, but they're not that good. Let's put it that way. So I think on the defensive side, the Steelers probably have the upper hand on that, but I think offensively, the Bears are it's like night and day to me. I just think Ben Johnson would definitely outcoach Arthur Smith. He runs a better system. So with that said, I'm going coaching the Bears. Gonna be a very interesting game. Unfortunately, I had this game as being the Tomlin game. And everybody know, every Steelers know that they know what the Tomlin game is. And I just think it's just setting up to be a Tomlin game. You had an emotional, you beat the Bengals, and you got a quarterback with a busted arm. I definitely think he's gonna go out there and try to play. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Yeah, boxing, man, you're right. I think the Bears got better coaching. And I think for the most part, and majority of the time when the Steelers go up against somebody, they're at a coaching disadvantage. They're at a coaching disadvantage, especially from the offensive standpoint. Now, granted, it's not we ain't talking to Matt Canada and all that. I just think at this point, I think Arthur Smith offense is outdated. It's outdated. I think the league has figured it out, and he doesn't really do anything different. You got one freaking receiver that everybody is just double, triple teaming. So yeah, I give you that. I think the Bears defense coaching is much better, very better. But anyway, my prediction. I'm going Chicago 24-13. Like I say, I at the beginning of the year when we went over the schedule, and that's something else that I'm just going, I'm always going, and a lot of people don't like it, and my man G and Tate call me an ops, but no, I'm not an ops. I'm realistic, and hey, I'm a Steeler fan, but hey, I see. I'm not going. I mean, like it's a lot of people that they probably had the Steelers being 10-0 right now. Every week they say the Steelers gonna win, but I'm just gonna be. I'm gonna be realistic, and I just think this is the Tomlin game. I'll be glad to be wrong, because if I'm wrong, that means my team is gonna win. But I just see I see the Bears just squeaking this one out. I see that, like I say, the Steelers coming off a big win, coming off a division win, and this team just haven't until they show me that they can be consistent. I will believe in them a little more. But right now, this team has not shown that they're consistent. 1 week is the offense, then the next week is the defense, and then they haven't put it together yet. They up 1 week, down the next week. So they have a chance. You're coming off a good win last week. This will be another good win. Then you got Buffalo next week. And I just think I'm at a point now. This team has to show me. You're not gonna fool me. You didn't fool me enough, and you just got to show me. You got to show me before, because at this point I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. This team has too much talent, and granted they do have some holes, but there's still a lot of talent on this team. But I just think right now we're being out-coached. I think we got an outdated offense that everybody has caught up with. They understand it. They know basically what the Steelers are trying to do. I believe, and it probably won't happen this week. I've always said that Aaron Rodgers is pretty much just going to hijack this offense and do his own thing, but maybe with the messed up arm that's going to kind of slow him down a little bit. But with that said, that's it. That's my matchup reports, and we will see on Sunday if I was close to what I said. And until then, you guys take care. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.